Good evening. Welcome back to Cambridge. Welcome to Sanders Theater. Welcome to Harvard's Graduate School of Design and the launch of the GSD's Grounded Visionaries campaign. We're pleased that all of you could be here tonight for this important event. I'm Michael Hayes. I'm the Elliott Noyes Professor of Architecture Theory and the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the GSD. Tonight, I'm honored to be your Master of Ceremonies for this, which is the sort of kickoff of Grounded Visionaries that we're calling Restless Legacy Beyond the Elements. Now, you can imagine, since we've chosen this Grounded Visionaries as our tag, we've had a lot of time to think about this word visionary. And I find it extremely interesting that if you look at how it's been used in the history of design, a number of seemingly contradictory ideas attached to the term visionary. Ideas on the one hand like innovation, originality, revolution, but also tradition, discipline, and I think mainly discipline, continuity, influence, and authority. And this holds true, I found, whether one thinks about the work of visionaries like Piranesi, Boulez, Olmsted, Le Corbusier, or Rem Koolhaas. The work of visionaries is not the creation out of nothing, but rather a highly considered, highly educated reorientation and reframing of fundamental principles and elements inscribed as if in the DNA of the discipline itself. And this is where the GSD comes in. For the complexity in the very definition of visionaries means several things for the GSD. Among them, first, that the enactment of vision can never be a purely practical problem, but is rather a profoundly theoretical problem, requiring a deep knowledge of the many aspects of the design disciplines, their histories, their technologies, their modes of representation, but also how these come together, how all these different techniques and modes of expertise can be mediated. It entails that the enactment of vision will never be linear. It's not just a matter of just doing it. It's having a vision and just making it. It will involve a logic of multi-level loops, of reiterations, of stops and starts, jump cuts and layers. And this is heightened when we remind ourselves that today, like no other time, the designer's intention and the designer's agency is now distributed across a vast complex of both human and non-human actors, of institutions, with flows of information and flows of energy that range in scale from the nano to the planetary. And finally, it means that while visions are born of desire, grounded visions come from understanding. Only from understanding, this deep, articulate, specific, disciplined knowledge, design knowledge, only from that can the imagination grow larger and more ambitious, more effective, and more true. And it's this kind of knowledge that supports that kind of vision. That's what the Graduate School of Design seeks to produce. And this is no small project. We're getting help from some remarkably dedicated and generous friends, and I'd like now to ask three of them to join me: Michael Lehrer, Phil Harrison, and John Irving. Those of you who are already here know that we're engaging our alumni in this effort, and over the past years, the response has been increasing day by day. As chair of our Alumni Council, Michael Lehrer is leading the effort to maintain and to energize and coordinate these alums. Michael is one of the most generous and sympathetic people you'll meet. He's an alum. He received his master's from the GSD in 1978. He founded his own firm in 1985, and the work includes institutional, commercial, residential, and industrial projects. It's been recognized with over 80 design and sustainability awards. Michael is a very active and loyal alum. I've truly enjoyed working with him, and I really enjoy calling him my friend. Michael, welcome.
A second here. Well, actually, as chairman of the Alumni Council, the very first thing I want to do is call out the 500 alumni in training who are here, who others referred to as the students of the Graduate School of Design. Could you stand up, and can we all give a big applaud for the 500 alumni in training? That's why we're here. What a joy it is to be in this place tonight, across the street from our tribal home, on behalf of our stunning 12,000-member, multi-generational, multidisciplinary, ubiquitous, lifelong GSD alumni community. Ours is a place-making community of creatives that daily impacts the environment in ways that no other community does. And that really is the simple truth of it. The GSD imbued our design-driven minds and souls with a robust sense of excellence. The relationships made here remain pillars of strength, joy, and awesome possibility that drive us to perfect the world for the rest of our lives. 12,000 grounded visionaries, and today we begin anew to renew, fortify, and rejoice in these relationships. We are community and we are family, touched, formed, and renewed by this astonishing place of teaching, learning, and making. Design is rooted in the possible and in the improbable, so Grounded Visionaries is a potent appellation. This capital campaign is the embodiment of a virtuous cycle of engagement. It begins on the trays of Gund Hall, an architectural romance of intellectual and creative capital. The world beyond the GSD's walls is replete with the social relationships spawned in late-night design sessions in the various corners of the GSD. I know. I met my wife, Mia Goodfreund Lehrer, here in 1975 on the very first day I stepped on campus. 36 years later, our son led his design peers from Gund Hall to Tercentenary Theater as class marshal. Nice, very nice. Ultimately, fomenting and nurturing all of this creative, intellectual, and social capital requires financial capital, the tithing of citizenship. Projecting forward, it is this same investment that propelled us to become the engaged, grounded visionaries that we are. As we take stock of all the ways in which the Harvard Graduate School of Design continues to shape us, let us relish the great leadership of Dean Mostafavi and President Faust that they have provided, and their mutual passion for placing the arts and design at the center of Harvard's intellectual agenda. And that is worth an applause. Let us fully embrace this campaign as a consummate design challenge. How do we ensure a future even more promising than its past? Grounded and visionary, let us embrace and support the GSD to realize an ever more thrivable and joyous world. And if you hold that thought, let me introduce Phil Harrison. Phil received his bachelor's degree from Harvard College in 1986. And he received his master's in architecture here in 1993. He is president and CEO of the renowned firm of Perkins & Will, and we are delighted that he accepted John Irving's invitation to co-chair our campaign. Please, Phil.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was nice. Nice. Strong hug. It took the wind out of my lungs just a minute while I capture my breath. Anyway, I'm very honored to co-chair the Grounded Visionaries campaign with my new best friend, John Irving.
And mine too.
Yes. John and I overlapped during our years at Harvard College. He was a little ahead of me, and later on when he was across the river at the business school while I was across the street at the GSD. But we didn't know each other until a few months ago when this project brought us together to create this uncommon partnership on behalf of the GSD and this groundbreaking project. I'm also delighted to get to know Michael, who I didn't know a few months ago. We're making friends all over the place, which is great. I need more, and which is a happy place. And look at you, here you are tonight. This network of alumni and friends is truly remarkable in its reach, its influence, and its impact on the world. And you put us all together in a room like this, and you think about the impact of the GSD around the world, and it truly is stunning. And we should take a minute to think about that. Anyway, so I'm happy to see all of you here, and you're most welcome. I'm just going to say a few words about students, because the GSD is a school, after all, and in particular, how inspiration, support, and empowerment can turn talent into leadership, design leadership. GSD students should have an inspired experience at the GSD. They should have broad institutional support, and they should leave their GSD programs with a deep sense of empowerment to make positive impact in the world. And I believe this because I feel like I got these things from the GSD myself, and I've practiced that way for the last 21 years. My passion for students comes from my own experience, because I was here for a long time, maybe longer than most, something like 12 years. I'm sort of slow. I first hung around the GSD in its orbit as an undergraduate in VES and philosophy, visual environmental studies. Those of you who don't know what it is, and a lot of GSD students were in my classes there. Then I stuck around and I taught VES and still had more peer GSD students in my classes. Along the way, I met my wife, Susan, who's a GSD graduate and a brilliant landscape architect. Sort of like Michael, we have that in common. I finally became a GSD student myself, and today I lead a firm with nearly 50 exceptional GSD graduates on our staff. Really, some of the leading design talents in our firm at Perkins & Will are GSD graduates. And needless to say, with all this, GSD students have been and still are a very important part of my life. So just briefly on inspiration. Just for example, I'll never forget the first time I witnessed intense love for architecture. It was in the basement of the Carpenter Center in Edward Seckler's class. And Edward Seckler, for those who don't know him, is a small man, but he's got a giant mind, and he holds a very long pole when he lectured, and he points with loving detail to these beautiful lantern slides in the day of images of architecture, modern architecture, emblazoned on the screen. And he would literally weep at times at the beauty of what he was talking about. And for example, I remember him talking about Asplund Cemetery in Stockholm. And I imagine most of you know what I'm talking about because probably most of you took that class. I think it went on for decades. I'll never forget it. It's inspiration. The institution's support, the second thing I mentioned, is critical. As a VES student, that department was actually founded by GSD faculty, and Seckler, by the way, was one of them. They founded the department because they thought that design and creativity were essential elements to an undergraduate curriculum. This was in 1968. You would have thought a creative time, but at that time, the university didn't agree with them that design and creativity mattered so much. And thankfully today, as you will hear shortly from President Faust, the university leadership not only believes in the criticality of design and creativity, they are impatient to see the GSD rise up and stake its claim. This kind of institutional support is immensely important for students. And finally, empowerment. On top of the belief that design is a profoundly relevant foundational force in society, you need a platform to exercise this belief. And the GSD is exactly this, fearlessly tackling the biggest challenges all over the world with a wildly creative approach. Can you imagine 12,000 and growing GSD alumni empowered by this credo, not just believing but acting? So John, Michael, and I are united in this belief that the Graduate School of Design is a vital institution and one deserving of our time, our resources, and our advocacy. You will hear much today about the school's unique history, the forces that shaped what it is today, but the campaign is about the future. President Faust, Faust, I'll try that again, in announcing the Harvard campaign said that the future is impatient, and if we are going to meet that impatient future with confidence and give our students the best design education in the world, we must have the resources this campaign will provide. So we thank you all for your engagement and your involvement here and tomorrow and for this weekend, and I'd like to now introduce my co-chairman, John Irving. John, as I said, is a graduate of Harvard College in economics, I believe, right, John? Yep. Yes, and he received his MBA at the business school in '89. He is president of Ocean Capital Investments, a holding company for his family's businesses in real estate, construction, energy, and other areas. He's based in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, which is sort of up near Maine, and then you kind of take a left, I think. And he is a great friend, truly a great friend of this school. And we are thrilled that he has agreed to lend his time and his talents to co-chair our comprehensive campaign. John?
Thank you very much, Phil. Well, here we are. It's an honor and a pleasure to chair the Grounded Visionaries Comprehensive Campaign with Phil Harrison. We make a good team because while we come to the job with different perspectives, but we have common experiences, and we have a belief in the importance of the Harvard Graduate School of Design. As you know, I'm not a graduate of the GSD, but I am of the college and the business school. And while I'm not a designer by profession, it's never too late to join the GSD. I believe I am what could be called a walk-on. I come from a family of builders and visionaries, but I personally know quite a bit about the grounded part of the campaign tagline. We will be saying a good deal more about the details of the campaign tomorrow, but for now, I want to say the campaign for the Graduate School of Design is a 4-year campaign, that it is an integral part of the Harvard campaign, and that both campaigns are going very well. This campaign is tremendously important because it will set the direction and provide the resources for Harvard to accomplish her dreams for the coming decades. It is a time to dream, a time to plan, and a time to accomplish. We are committed to President Faust's vision of One Harvard. We are, as you will hear over these 2 days, involved in many exciting collaborations with all of the other Harvard schools. We need the GSD to be strong, and we also want Harvard schools, faculties, and the university to be strong as well. Like a good building, where every component is vital, anything that strengthens a part strengthens the whole. And we're very glad to have you here for one simple reason. We cannot succeed without you. It is our job to make the case to you for why this campaign is important, for what it will mean to the school, to Harvard, and to the world. And then it will be up to you to decide if you want to pitch in. But I think I know the answer will be a resounding yes. To accomplish this campaign in fine GSD style will require leadership, commitment, time, and yes, I must say, raising funds sufficient to support the current undertaking of the world's preeminent School of Design and to allow it to maintain its global position. I and my family believe very deeply in the school, its mission, its leadership, and of its important role in the fabric that is Harvard. We will work hard to show you all the opportunities and challenges that the school is currently pursuing. And now, I can't tell you how much it means to me to have the privilege to introduce President Drew Gilpin Faust. She is the Lincoln Professor of History in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. She is the 28th President of Harvard University. She is an eminent historian of the Civil War in the American South. Her book on the subject, This Republic of Suffering, won the Bancroft Prize. This book was also the basis for the 2012 Emmy-nominated episode of the PBS program American Experience titled Death in the Civil War. A great video. I urge you all to watch it. I did. Before coming to Harvard, she had a long and distinguished career at the University of Pennsylvania, where she was the Annenberg Professor of History and a faculty member for 25 years. She arrived here at Harvard to take on a very daunting job as the founding dean of the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Studies. And she saw its transformation from its roots as Harvard College to become one of the preeminent centers of advanced study in the world. And most recently, she was a wonderful participant in the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS. Since becoming president in 2007, not so long ago, she has taken on a number of big issues, but none more transformative than creating the concept of One Harvard. Her goal, the campaign's dream of bringing all Harvard's great schools, faculties, and students together to create collaboration and cooperation and to make each of them and the university itself stronger while retaining each school's autonomy and identity, will be what distinguishes Harvard for the next century, much as the House system transformed Harvard College, or the creation of the business school transformed business and leadership education. In this task, we must triumph. Not only is she an outstanding scholar, author, and administrator, but 1 year ago here in Saunders Theater, she launched Harvard's most ambitious fundraising campaign with her stirring words, and I quote, "Harvard must be as good as she is great." And wow, it is off to a wonderful start. We've created tremendous new resources for undergraduate fellowships, and most recently, this week, announced the largest gift in the history of the university, $350 million to the School of Public Health. What an accomplishment. On a personal note, though, I must tell you, President Faust gets it. She has been unbelievably supportive of the arts, culture, engineering, and the sciences. She is forceful, determined, and incredibly insightful. She is an incalculable source of support for all of the university, including the GSD. And I want to thank her for taking the time to come here this evening and help us launch the GSD campaign in fine style. President Faust.
Thank you, John, and thanks to all of you for coming tonight and cheering on the School of Design at this very important moment. It's really wonderful to see all of you here. 3 years ago, we celebrated the design school's 75th birthday and Harvard's 375th. As you paraded through a tropical downpour wearing hats shaped like buildings and landscapes, I was hoping for maybe some of the same again tonight. I said I didn't know how we did without you for 300 years. And John, I don't know how we ever did without you and Phil as the recent addition to the campaign leadership. I agree with your inclusion in that too, please. Leading the charge and speaking, John, so movingly last year about your family's long-standing commitment to design and its capacity to shape a better world. I hope that many of you were in the room when John's gift to the school was announced, and he had many of us, including himself, in tears. I'd like to talk for a few moments tonight about the capacity of the school to build a better world through design, and to talk about what that means for Harvard. The GSD is the leading design school in the world, so it's hard to believe that Harvard was a relative latecomer to the benefits of design. But we made up for that at the turn of the last century when we created a School of Architecture and established the first graduate school of landscape architecture in America, and then the first school in the world devoted to city and regional planning, whose influences transformed American landscape and the field of design. When these three schools came together as the School of Design, it was 1936, the bottom of the Great Depression. The economy was shattered. Global war was imminent. President Roosevelt told the assembled crowd at Harvard's 300th anniversary that Harvard should train its graduates, and I quote, "to understand philosophies we do not accept and hopes we find it difficult to share, and to account the service of mankind the highest ambition a man can follow." The modernist sensibility was already moving art and architecture towards a functional response to society. And so it was no surprise that the Harvard Graduate School of Design was founded not as a school of the Beaux-Arts, but as one of social transformation, one about service to mankind. From the beginning, it was a school about making people's lives better through design. Its first dean, Joseph Hudna, defined the purpose of his new school, and I quote, as the exigent desire to improve the environment of the human race. I tacked those words above my desk in Mass Hall when I first read them 3 years ago, because this desire to improve the environment of the human race has defined Harvard as well. From its first ambition to train a learned clergy to be leaders in knowledge and goodness, to the current array of public-facing Harvard schools that strive to improve lives all over the world, from public health and medicine and law and business to education and government. And so from the beginning, the design school was a school that would train its students to work together with others to solve common human problems. And as you know, you are outstanding collaborators. I talk a lot about One Harvard, about how each part of the university is made stronger by its interconnections and shared purposes. It's especially thrilling today to celebrate a school that so powerfully embodies the collaborative, interdisciplinary model for One Harvard. Design is a part of nearly everything we do, from design thinking in business, to design's connections with engineering, to its deep relationships with all of the arts, to all its connections with so many varied parts of the university. Think of the windows you have created with the Wyss Institute that can adapt during the day to distribute sunlight in an even way throughout a room with potentially huge energy savings. Or think of the initiative entitled Schools for the Year 2030, in which students and faculty from the GSD work together with peers from the Graduate School of Education to reimagine spaces to advance and enhance learning. Or think of the new track in architecture studies, where GSD and the FAS Department of the History of Art and Architecture bring design to students in the college. Design infuses Harvard. Dean Mostafavi calls it, and I quote him, the commitment to societal engagement through design excellence. Now, as you know, this kind of collaboration, especially for large and complex problems, is not always easy. It depends on persuasion and communication and trust. It brings together the talents and perspectives of many different disciplines and often of very different cultures. And yet, with persistence and imagination and irrepressible optimism, for 78 years, this school has shown Harvard the way. I mean it when I say, what would we do without you? It was 2 design school students who discovered Paul Farmer drawing hospital plans on a napkin and ended up collaborating with Partners in Health to design a hospital in northern Rwanda, a facility so innovative that not only was it built partly by hand out of native volcanic stone by local men and women, it is a world-class teaching hospital with life-saving natural ventilation and wireless internet. They have since taken this model to Haiti and several other countries as well. There are examples of the school's creativity and impact from every decade. In 1960, who would establish the first North American program in urban design? Or that same decade, who would use the first computer graphics system to map air pollution in a project that would eventually create the field of geographic information systems? In the 1970s, who would work with UNESCO and the Nepalese people to preserve Nepal's historic monuments and create a worldwide template for the preservation of public spaces? The Harvard Graduate School of Design. The GSD has not just crossed boundaries time and again. It has shown us what collaboration could look like once we cross them. It has changed the way we think, from its emphasis on collaborative teaching to team-based studio practice and interdisciplinary labs, to countless projects with schools and teams across the university and around the world. How do I know this matters? I know because I have seen firsthand the impact of these ideas in action, from outside my office door in Harvard Yard to every city and every country I have visited, from Santiago to South Africa. Right here on our campus, I have seen the renewal of historic Harvard Yard after the ravages of Dutch elm disease, including the revitalization of its soils after degradation and compaction, led by the Department of Landscape Architecture at GSD. In Shanghai, I've walked along a reed-lined riverbank park where a promenade now connects the old city with the new, and where a constructed wetland cleans polluted water. In Mumbai, I've explored the urban edge of the Arabian Sea with students who recently reimagined the city's eastern port, combining landscape and architectural design with ideas from students in business, law, and public policy. In Brazil, I learned about the GSD studio, whose students were recognized for their poetic pragmatism. I think that's sort of like being a grounded visionary, isn't it? In developing proposals for the transformation of a São Paulo favela. You did these things. You made these contributions all around the world. Smart design has this seemingly magical quality of engaging others with what one design student recently called the seed of sincerity. As she put it, the ability to step into the space of other people with your own feet. Tonight we celebrate what can grow from that seed, what has grown from that seed. The school where Olmsted transformed landscape design and Hudnut and Gropius helped reshape architecture. The school that reinvented the tray, from the round Gropius tray that doubled as a plate in the Harvard dining hall. Some of you probably remember it. You called it the trash can lid. To the trays of Gunt Hall, where students today imagine designs that tomorrow might change our lives. The achievement of the Harvard Graduate School of Design is not an accident of history. These accomplishments are the accumulated and collective efforts of leaders and innovators, the world's finest students and faculty, and some 12,000 alumni whose influence in the field of design is unsurpassed. When John Irving and Anne Irving Oxley established the John E. Irving Dean's Innovation Fund last year in memory of their father, Jack, they said they were investing in the education of our future designers at the most vibrant design research program in the world in order to address issues of paramount importance to all human beings. It is no small project. These are the things you wake up thinking about. What will megacities look like as we experience an unprecedented scale of urbanization? How will we reimagine ecological urban design that is both democratic and beautiful? What design calculus will ensure adequate clean water supply across dozens of different cultures? How can our technologies create a better life? The Harvard Graduate School of Design aspires to address these enormous challenges. That is why this school needs this campaign. Its work has never been more vital to our understanding of a complex world, to the well-being of our planet, and to our purposes as a university. This is why we are here this evening. We need this school and the extraordinary community that it creates. We need the spaces it imagines and the things it makes. We need its daring and its curiosity and its optimism. We need its grounding in practice and in people and places across the globe. And we need its capacity not just to imagine, but to build a more beautiful, more just, more visionary, more sustainable world for today, for next year, and for the next 300 years. Now, we all know that none of this can happen without leadership, smart leadership, which brings me to Mohsen. Some of you here might know Dean Mostafavi's book on weathering, which explores the life of buildings in time. He reminds us in this elegant little book that buildings persist in time, but that we cannot take this for granted. Because, as he puts it, the surface of a building is ever-changing. He recognizes that design itself is forever an interactive enterprise. The same observation might apply to universities. In this small example, we see one of the qualities that make Mohsen a great leader, because he understands and embraces change in the context of the past and the present. He cares deeply about the collaborative essence of design as a path to a better world. And it is no surprise that the global presence of the design school has grown under such an expansive thinker and human being. I had been president of Harvard for 1 month when I had the pleasure of announcing Mohsen's imminent return to the GSD, this time as dean. And after 7 years, I cannot imagine the university without him, guiding not only this intensely ambitious and productive school, but also the university in key roles on the Committee for the Arts, the Committee on Common Spaces, and in the Council of Deans, as a leader of exceptional vision and extraordinary generosity. He has been a teacher and mentor across campus and a partner and advisor to me. As the personal beneficiary of his friendship and wisdom, I can say that these not only persist through time, but grow. The future of design at Harvard could not be in better hands. Please join me in welcoming your dean, Mohsen Mostafavi.
So Drew, thank you so much. It's really hard not to get completely emotional.
I have some Kleenex.
Yes, very good. I'll take one. We have a small gift in recognition of all the amazing, amazing, amazing things that, Drew, you've done for the school, for me, for really the GSD community. We have this wonderful award, which we would like to present to you, which says here that in recognition of her support and dedication to the most widely ambitious, experimental, and optimistic design school in the world, the GSD is proud to confer on Harvard University President Drew Gilpin Faust, with the acclamation of the faculty, students, and alumni community, the title of Grounded Visionary. There's a bit more. Of course, the title of Grounded Visionary also comes with all the practical grace, spectacular simplicity, and restless legacy the title appertains, set forth on the 12th day of September in the year 2014. Wonderful.
I will try to aspire to be both grounded and visionary in recognition of this great honor. You have set a high bar. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, President Faust, for being with us today and for your generous introduction and kind words about the school. Thank you, Phil, John, and Michael. We deeply appreciate all you've done for the school and all that you're doing for our campaign. It has been a pleasure, a great pleasure, to work with President Faust on several projects since I became dean. She already mentioned a couple of them. The Harvard Committee for the Arts, which of course has brought a much higher level of prominence within the university to the arts, and the Committee on Common Spaces, which has really helped to investigate how we can create a feeling of community within the Harvard campus. President Faust, as we know, is very much committed to One Harvard. And it's making a huge difference for us at the GSD. Our future is intertwined through collaboration with the other schools and faculties within the university. Many of these have already mentioned. We believe in One Harvard, and we aspire to making it a reality. We work to connect with other parts of the university through our projects, linking with the schools of engineering, public health, the Ed School, the Law School, the Business School, the Kennedy School, the Wyss Institute, the iLab, and the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. President Faust, we are so deeply happy to have you with us. As we celebrate design as part of the university's campaign, thank you for everything you've done for the GSD. And we welcome all of you, visionaries, alumni, friends, who have gathered to mark this milestone in the life of the GSD. The architects, landscape architects, urban designers, and planners who teach and learn here are visionaries in that they think big, imagining alternative futures. But we also know how to implement, embedding our vision in a complex global society. That is how we achieve grounding. And throughout, our goal is a better world, a more humane world, and yes, a more beautiful world. Are we successful in living up to these values? As you have heard from President Faust, the answer for the past 75 years has been a resounding yes, and that is all because of you. What is it that makes the GSD unique? First and foremost, though there are many universities that have, for example, schools of architecture, there are really very few that we can truly call as schools of design. We at the GSD look holistically at our work. Not only do we design buildings and landscapes, we look at how these combine with planning to create the total urban fabric that incorporates social, cultural, and economic realities. It is no accident that this has happened. This was part of the vision of the beginning when, as we already heard, Joseph Hudnut, Walter Gropius, and the other early leaders of the schools saw the power that would be created through an interdisciplinary pedagogy that brought all of these disciplines under one roof. We understand the power of design. We claim design as a field of expertise that integrates architecture, landscape architecture, urban design, and planning. We recognize design as a catalyst for change with a strong social dimension. We make things that matter. We create structures and environments that have lasting effects on the quality of life for millions of people. We champion and practice transdisciplinary learning and doing. We constantly explore a variety of pedagogic possibilities, option studios, studios abroad, and field studies. These are increasingly collaborative, engaging experts across the university and beyond. As President Faust mentioned, we also collaborate across the university. It is in our DNA. This is consistent with our work in the world because working on responses to climate change is more effective when we partner with the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. This is why we're pursuing the possibility of a collaborative degree together, or when we work with the School of Public Health on a research project that addresses issues of health in urban environments. And of course, with the Kennedy School, we share faculty, a joint degree, and a joint center for housing studies. And more recently, as was mentioned, with the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, the undergraduate track in architecture studies. Our new Center for Green Buildings and Cities and our research labs and projects are equally focused on problem solving and speculative thinking. We ask what needs to be done today and what might be our possible futures. We're global citizens. We are increasingly going out into the world through our studio programs, sending faculty and students to as many as 45 countries in 2 years to become a part of the local environment, to learn from the people there, and to contribute to their lives. More than half of our option studios are international. These forays are critical, but to be effective, we must also be at the vanguard of disciplinary knowledge. It is this combination of knowledge and global purpose that shapes the work of the school. We value work of the highest caliber and highest quality. Focusing on the social dimension is laudatory but incomplete if it compromises the aesthetic and the formal dimensions of disciplinary knowledge. Again, as President Faust mentioned, the GSD is equally committed to social impact and design excellence. This excellence is grounded in research. It has been a priority during my time here at the GSD to develop and expand our research program with a focus on critical global issues and the capacity of the imagination. We strive for sustainable outcomes. Our work has consequences for people and communities at a variety of scales and in a variety of contexts. At the local scale, the GSD's participation in the Common Spaces program helped the university reconsider the yard as a place rather than a path of circulation, a locus. The chairs in Harvard Yard are a simple yet spectacular example of the power of design to act as an instigator of change. And of course, as has been the transformation of the newly envisioned plaza in front of the Science Center. These projects are an affirmation of inclusion by the university for the whole community. This action at the local level is important to our designers who are reshaping the environment in our own backyard. At the larger scale, the GSD's response to a global triple threat in Japan, earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear disaster, has taken on a different form. This is a long-term project that continues to engage students and faculty across a variety of formats. Toyo Ito led a studio abroad in Tohoku. A multidisciplinary student team won a competition for their proposal to help rebuild and recover from the disaster. And our students continue to visit the region doing independent research and summer community service work. This is precisely the long-term, global, and influential work that this campaign supports and envisions. And now, tonight, here, we welcome and celebrate you for who you are and what you do, bringing the ideals of the Graduate School of Design into the real world of cities and towns, suburbs, and the countryside. Thank you all for being here. Thanks.